Good evening, all. Prabhakaran sir. Prabhakaran sir, are you there? Hello, good evening, Prabhakaran sir. Are you there?
Yeah, ma'am. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Sir, Praveen sir is also joined.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
he also. Yeah, he's joined already.
Just give me 1 minute, sir. Ma'am will join.
Okay, ma'am.
Aisha ma'am, I'm in already.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Shall we start, ma'am?
Yeah, yeah, please, please.
Okay. Akhila, start, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
Good evening, all. Welcome to our workshop on India's constitutional legacy, empowering democracy and sustainable development, organized by the Department of Computer Science and Human Protection Cell, association with IIC and IQAC of Christ College of Science and Management. Today, we will explore the profound significance of India's constitution as a foundation of a democracy and a guiding force for sustainable development. Key topics include overview of India's constitution, empowering democracy, social justice and inclusion, constitutional principles aligned with the sustainable goals, democratic processes, and sustainable practices. In addition to the informative session, the workshop will offer a platform for interactive discussion, encouraging participants to actively engage and share their insights. E-certificates will be awarded to the participants who attend. The sessions will be available via Google Meet and YouTube Live. Join us in examining the essential elements of India's constitutional legacy, fostering democracy and sustainable development.
Thank you, Ms. Akila. Let us seek the grace of God Almighty through a moment of silent prayer. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Akila of First BCA for welcome address.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Christ College of Science and Management, it is my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to Reverend Father James George CMI, Principal of CCSM, Professor S. Adilakshmi, Head of the Department of Computer Science, our esteemed speaker, Mr. Praveen Kumar, and Mr. C. Prabhakaran, as well as all participants and delegates to this prestigious national level workshop on India's constitutional legacy, empowering democracy and sustainable development. We are truly honored to have each one of you with us today. We are honored to welcome a distinguished speaker who will share their knowledge, experiences, and insights on various aspects of Indian Constitution. Their expertise will undoubtedly deepen our understanding and inspire us to appreciate the significance of India's constitutional legacy in fostering democracy and sustainable development. As we embark on this journey together, let us recognize the opportunities presented by this legacy to empower both our democratic values and our commitment to sustainable growth. Thank you for being a part of this workshop. I wish you all an engaging and rewarding experience.
Thank you, Ms. Akila. Next, I invite Mrs. S. Adilakshmi, Head Department of Computer Science, for the presidential address. Please, ma'am.
Very good evening to all of you and respected uh, Praveen Kumar sir and respected Prabhakaran sir for this session and my dear students and teachers. It's my pleasure to talk to you regarding this workshop and such an incredible topic, and it is highly relevant for the our regular practical life. As we have the subject in one of our semesters, so we felt like when the students study the curriculum, they will understand the topics which is completely again the exam point of view, but they should understand the value of it, and they should know how this subject is getting integrated into their regular career and the regular life. So that is the way we just came to an idea to conduct an event, and we were looking for a persons who can help us to integrate this subject knowledge to the societal concerns. And we fortunately got Praveen Kumar sir, Assistant Commissioner, National Budget Council, Central Vigilance Commission, New Delhi. Hearty welcome, sir. We are so privileged to have you in the stage, and we are fortunate to to learn from you. And a hearty welcome to Prabhakaran sir, State Organizer, Youth Wing, Social Justice Rights Protection Council. Hearty welcome to you too again. And we are awaiting, and our students are also awaiting many of the people, because this particular session, it is not only for the students, those who are connected with the subject, but it is a common thing that everyone should understand the value. So we made it live, and many of them have connected over there to hear from you. So once again, I welcome you both. I'm so privileged to have you in this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
It is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed resource person. Praveen Kumar is a distinguished financial professional with over 8 years of experience in finance and accounting, specializing in budget management and financial analysis. Currently serving as an assistant commissioner in the Vigilance Commission of India, he has successfully led financial planning initiatives that manage annual budgets exceeding $200 million. His strategic approach has resulted in a remarkable 18% reduction in operating costs, a 25% increase in forecasting accuracy, and a consistent positive cash flow improvement of 15% across multiple departments. In his prior role as a senior finance manager at Amazon India, Praveen oversaw a diverse team across 4 countries, driving exceptional revenue growth in the electronics segment, which generated $2.3 trillion in financial year 2022, 32% above projection. His contributions have been recognized with prestigious Door Desk Award from Amazon India. Holding an MBA from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, a Bachelor in Engineering from IIT Madras, Praveen is also pursuing a Chartered Accounting degree and has recently completed an LLB. His accolades include being named Best Student of his batch at IIT Madras, receiving the Eminent Citizen of India Award for significant contributions to infrastructure development, and, and the Nehru Memorial Award for providing economic assistance to Sri Lanka. With a strong commitment to leveraging his expertise, Praveen is dedicated to fostering economic growth and sustainable development in India.
It's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed resource person C. Prabhakaran is a multifaceted creative professional with a background in computer science and law. He completed his BSc in computer science at MGR Arts and Science College in 2016 and has since worked with Infosys Limited in various roles. Prabhakaran began his journey as a lyricist with debut song Anthem of Tirupur and have made significant contributions to the independent music scene. He is actively involved in Social Justice Rights Protection Council, serving as the state youth wing organizer since 2014, advocating for human rights and social justice. In addition to his work in music, Prabhakar made his film industry debut as a lyric writer for the movie Unkadal Erundal. He published his first poetry book, Ennil Adanga, in 2021 and 2024. He released two more books, Adayum Tandi and Neeye Kudadu. His notable film contributions include the recently released project Nature in the Neram, featuring three of his songs. Prabhakaran's diverse talent and dedication to the social issues continue to shape his creative endeavors. Now I invite Mr. Praveen Kumar and C. Prabhakaran to commence the national level workshop, India's Constitutional Legacy, Empowering Democracy and Science Development. Please, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, Praveen, first I will take through, then you can take over this. Thank
Sure.
you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Actually, this is a warm welcome for us.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Recently, Aisha ma'am is one of the faculty in Chris College. She called me and asked about this seminar. So when I heard that topic, I thought to call Mr. Praveen Kumar because you might know while listening about his career, we'll get to know at this young age what he have achieved. That is really awesome heights. So I told to the ma'am, Praveen Kumar will be the better person to take this seminar. Without any hesitation, I asked with Praveen. Thank you, Mr. Praveen Kumar, for accepting this my request and coming for this seminar.
Thanks, Prabhakaran.
And I want to thanks respected principals of the Christ College and department head of departments of computer science and human rights cell and all the faculties who participated in this event and the students who willingness to come this event to listen this. Actually, I want to repeat the words what the HOD ma'am addressed in his speech. Couple of time, couple of time the seminar got postponed, but it is happening today. I just realized. Fortunately, this is the absolute month for this seminar. I hope you know why it is. It's a November month We can also call it as a Constitution Month. Constitution of India was adopted on November 26, 1949, and it became effective on January 26, 1950. It is a Republic Day of India. But however, Indian government declared November 26 as Constitution Day to honor the contribution of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Before getting to what is in this constitution, sorry, Praveen is prepared with the slides. He will walk through the slides. I just want to discuss why the constitution is important to learn. Is this is just a subject to pass the degree or complete the graduation, or it is just a first degree of the law graduation? No, big no. Constitution is the subject of the nation. Constitution is the object of the nation. I told you, right? I just want to repeat what the HOD ma'am said. All the Indians should know about the Constitution. Even if they are illiterate, they should aware about the Constitution. If they were aware earlier, they may not be illiterate, because our Indian Constitution ensure the education for everyone. And I have a question for you guys. Everybody know about the promises, right? Have you ever heard about promises we used to do in our day-to-day life in our with our friends and family? So I just want to say one of the greatest promise of the Indian Constitution. If a person promise another person for a deal, it is called as a contract. But the entire nation is promising to follow some document, legal document, that is called a constitution. When recently I spoke with Aisha ma'am, she said human rights department also participating in this seminar. So I just want to cover that human rights as well, because the preamble of the constitution is the promise of the every Indian. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic to secure its all citizens. Yeah, India is independent. It's free from the external control. It emphasizes the social and economic equality. And when we are talking about the India, one unique quote will come in my mind. That is unity in diversity. That is India's dignity. Sorry. India is a secular country compared to all the countries over the world. And India is a democratic country. India is of the people, for the people, by the people. So, Indian Constitution's preamble clearly define the objective of the Constitution and objective of the India, that is justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. So in going forward, Praveen will elaborate and discuss about those things. So I just want to highlight few points regarding the UDHR, that is Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the Constitution. What is the similarities between these two documents? When we are talking about the human rights, basic needs of human will be the food, shelter and clothes. Is that? No, it will enhance. Basic needs of human rights will be also include the health and education. When a baby born, along with the baby, their rights will born. human rights is a birthright. I just want to highlight few articles which have similarities between the UDHR and Indian Constitution. That is equality before law and non-discrimination and right to equal access to the public services. So these things and all we were talked in the Constitution as well as in the UDHR. And also we are gathering here and we are speaking here. It's all about the freedom of our expression, freedom of our union. This is ensured by the Constitution of India and UDHR. So UDHR have two kinds of major law, that is civil and political rights. Another one is so economical, social and cultural rights. These two laws, these two articles similarly coming in our Indian Constitution. Our fundamental Indian Constitution fundamental rights replace the place of the civil and political rights. And our directive principles of state policies is replaced with the UDHR. So I just want to give an overview what this session will be. That's why I have taken the small time. Now I will hand over to Mr. Praveen Kumar to walk through the slide. He prepared for you well. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you again. And Praveen Kumar, you can take through the slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prabhakaran, for the brief walkthrough. Can we start from the first slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can I know the name of the host who's managing this slide so that I don't have to be awkwardly calling
Yes, it's Aisha, sir.
Aisha? Okay.
Aisha.
So, Aishu, is it?
Aisha.
Aisha. Okay. Thank you, Aisha. Before we get started, folks, I understand this is late evening call, and I will ensure this is not like your regular late evening classes that you're forced to sit and attend on. This is very interesting topic, and trust me, we'll keep it very very interactive and a two-way discussions as well, right? So usually in seminars we see there's only one man talking and everybody is listening out. We'll make this more interesting. We'll make this as a two-way interactions. Please put down your questions on chats for the host to collect it on the Q&A sessions. I'll be very happy to take a lot of questions. And I've taken a lot of seminars on corporates, but when I go to colleges and schools, it's always overwhelming, right? Like it feels that we are planting somewhere for many of the folks to come and uh, reprieve it in the future. So thanks for the very warm welcome before we start, and stay energized throughout the seminar so that we don't feel it's like a late ad hoc evening meetings. Good. Let's get started, folks. So, do anybody have felt why there is a need for constitution? First of all, like before we get started to know what is constitution, have you guys felt why we need a constitution first? Because let's skip to like 3 or 4 decades before, right? Like there were king rule in India, and nobody even knows to write or read during that time, and everything was going good. Why there's a need for constitution when we pass on decades and education and technology? So with everything in our hands, why do we need a separate constitution?
Students, you can answer. You can answer
Sir,
and
ask the
answer.
question again.
Yeah, so 2 or 3 decades before, we don't even know to read and write. We did not have any rules set as constitutions, right? And everything was going good. With technology rising and we know everything around the world, why we still need a constitution?
Sir, like to protect our rights, what are the powers we are getting after getting the progress? We should limit. We can't go over the limit for promoting stability, and
Great.
for every citizen should participate. For that, we are need constitution.
Exactly. That's perfect. So we'll get there, right? So first of all, constitution is the supreme law of India. So there are so many laws, so many amendments, so many statutory rules that we are set to follow, but constitution is the ultimate supreme law of India, where if any law constitutes or if any law conflicts with constitution, we have to take constitution as a superior law. For example, let's assume if you are having a confusion in interpreting any of the two laws, you have to refer constitution and see which is the supreme. When a constitution directs you to do something, it is the supreme law of India. So for all confusions, when you need any clarity what is better or what is higher than laws that was released, you can refer constitution. So it is the supreme law of India and it amends all other laws. So this is the key thing that you have to notice in constitution. And as Asmi rightly said, it is a framework for everybody, right? The similar point that I used it, right? Like we have technology in our hands, we have moved far away from the king's rule, so we wanted to build a document or a paper or a contract which everybody's agreed that this is right and this is wrong, and anybody can make mistakes, is what the tradition that we are going to follow now, right? Like if you take 300 400 years, there was a belief among the people that kings cannot go wrong, right? And with everything, with every awareness, we now believe that anybody can go wrong and everybody is entitled to do some mistakes when they rule, right? And to avoid those mistakes and to say this is right or this is wrong, we need a substantial document or substantial framework to say what is right and what is wrong. So constitution is that framework where it tells our government what is right and what is wrong. It tells the government what are the duties that they should do for the people. And it also tells our executive wing, which is our collector or inspectors. The government is being ruled by executives, right? So there are three wings actually. One is executive, one is legislative, and the other is judiciary. Judiciary will go under courts and lawyers. Executive will go under executive directors, which is a district magistrate known as collector, commissioner, police, etc. And legislative will go under MLAs and MPs. So this constitution provides directions to all three wings as to their duties and powers. So this deeply establishes three frameworks. So when we say constitution, we can categorize that into three frameworks. And I will talk about individual frameworks while we go through the slides. So the three frameworks are fundamental rights. As people of India, we are entitled to some rights that we can or we can exercise by the government. For example, your fundamental rights can be right to equality, right to speak. So as citizen of India, you have some rights and it is applicable to all 140 billion citizens of India. Similarly, you have some duties as well to perform for the government. For example, if you're born in India, you have to respect the integrity and sovereignty of the nation. And you have to respect the rules that is being quoted in the constitution. And you have to respect the social and economic justice. So as you get to enjoy the rights, you are entitled to pay back to the country on some of the duties that you're entitled to. And there are some directive principle which I quoted earlier, the framework that all three wings of the nation must adhere to. And Indian constitution has tremendous special features than any other constitutions in the world, and it is the lengthiest and longest constitutions in the world. Why it was lengthiest? So I will bring on the history of the constitutions to you in the upcoming slides. And Indian constitutions is termed to be the borrowed constitutions, right? So when we go through 1934, like when we immediately say constitution, everybody thinks or gets your mind to Ambedkar, but actually it was proposed by M.N. Roy. So M.N. Roy went on a trip to US, United States, and he found a lot of frameworks being quoted for all three wings of the nation. And he admired those. He wanted to inculcate the same into India as well. But unfortunately, India was under British rule that time. It was pre-independence. Folks, everybody, when we think of constitution, we assume it is being built post the independence, but it's actually not. So it was built pre-independence on 1934. So M.N. Roy, after his trip to US, came to India and proposed this to Congress on 1935. He had a lot of inferences, lot of ideas, a lot of solution oriented problems to say that constitution is the mandate framework for India. But Congress took it to the British government because the rule was under British, and 5 years Congress fought for a constitution assembly, and British finally accepted it on 1940. They accepted this through August offer. So, folks, remember this August offer. It is an important milestone of India because this was assumed to be the first victory on our march to independence. So we had lot of requests to British, none of it were accepted, and this August offer was the first offer by British government which was accepted to have constitution for India. So M. N. Roy then believed Honorable Dr. Ambedkar was the best person to be appointed as a chairperson to work alongside him to have this constitution successfully completed. So they set up a constituent assembly between 1946 to 1949. So all these 3 years, they went and referenced a lot of constitutions across the world: France, Germany, UK, US, Toledo, Poland. So there were important key constitutions references was made, and our constitutions was called as borrowed constitutions because we had so many references from other countries which was successful. And one difficulty faced by M. N. Roy and Ambedkar was every constitution and every country had a set of religions ingested in their country and set of people who were of a similar nature. For example, if you see in US, they were called as whites, and blacks were segregated from US. Until now, there is a thing going on between blacks and whites in US, but India doesn't do that, and Ambedkar and M. N. Roy does not want to do that. So they want to build a framework which can be adopted and accepted by all the religions of India, all the regions of India, given their secular nature, diverse nature. So they took 3 years and then proposed a framework. The key thing in this framework is it can be adopted or it can be modified according to the needs of the country. And it was finally adopted on 26 November 1949. As Prabhakaran said, called out initially, it was celebrated as the Constitution Day of India, and usually November month is a Constitution month because it was believed that on November month alone there was 20% of Constitution written on the final month. So whenever you're thinking of constitution, the 20% of ideologies framework that we are following today was written in just 26 days. So folks, imagine how much we can move mountains if we want to achieve or contribute for this country. So from 1949 till 2024, whatever we are following, 70% of it is written in just 3 years and 20% of it is written in just 26 days. Can we move on? So whenever we talk of constitution, we have to talk of preamble. And why preamble is necessary is because preamble acts as a preface to us. For example, let's assume when you read a book, you wanted to know something about this book, but you cannot read the entire book. So what do? We go to index, we see some references, and we see whatever topics are covered in the book. So for anybody to understand, for everybody to take this constitution fully to them, to adapt everything in the constitution, M. N. Roy proposed that we need a preamble, and this was later approved by Jawaharlal Nehru. Initially, the constitution did not have preamble, but Jawaharlal Nehru and M. N. Roy referenced preamble from American Constitution. American Constitution felt that constitution on a whole lengthy document cannot be read and enforced and brought into practice because it was the lengthiest framework of all. So they categorized all of it into smaller segments and made a preamble. Preamble is similar to what you see as preface when you open your textbook, and it was proposed by Jawaharlal Nehru through INC. Preamble is nothing just an introduction of the entire constitution. It will say what are the goals that we need to achieve as a nation, and this preamble has everything confined within these 2 lines, right? It says, and it is just a oath by the people of India. As we all know, we the people of India being solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, social, secular, democratic republic, right? So these five words has a lengthiest and has tons of meaning in it. When we say sovereign, we promise the people of India that government is not the absolute power, people is the absolute power. So sovereign literally means the power is always resting on the people, and people has all the power to choose a government or choose a leader that they will likely to be ruled. Socialist means we are not an economist country, we are socialist country. We wanted to think of other peoples who are near us. We want to think the nation as a whole. Secular means we adopt all religions. We don't push religions. The government does not say this is the national religions. The reason why India does not have a national religion is because we are secular in nature. We follow every religions. We respect every religions. One beauty of this land is we have around hundreds of religions, and everybody gets to live in a small block, and everybody is segregated across the country, being equally respected and have equal social and fundamental rights to them. And we mean the country is republic, people can choose or elect their own leaders, and it is not being a democratic, or it is not being a solicit leadership where in king's rule their families gets to rule. So India is a republic country where we get to choose, or people get to choose whom they would like to be ruled. So, speaking of preamble, we can discuss some of the key features of Indian Constitution. So, this Indian Constitution is the lengthiest written constitution. Remember, folks, each and every word of this constitution is set and written by two people, M.N. Roy and Ambedkar. I feel very pity for Dr. M.N. Roy because his name was overshadowed by Ambedkar, because Ambedkar contribution to constitution was absolutely significant, though M.N. Roy had proposed this idea. And there was a lot of debate around how the constitution has to be written. So some of the leaders from Indian National Congress debated that it should not be lengthiest, because Indians had that mindset from the earlier independence, or pre-independence state, that when it is overwhelming for us, we tend to push it off or we don't do it at all. For example, the Congress proposed when it is over us to adopt, we do not adopt anything. So they said Indian constitution has to be the smallest constitution. But with lot of discussions and debates over it, the council or the constituent assembly believed that for the future, or for upcoming citizens or youths of India, there has to be guidance passed over from pre-independent state or leaders of the India, so that it has to be lengthy. And key pointer to make it into a lengthiest constitution is to confine all the frameworks, ensure that everything is being written on the constitution to avoid confusion for any youths. And it is the responsibility of the youths henceforth who are coming in only to increase the standards of the constitution and make it more appealing, more descriptive to the upcoming generations, and not to sit and write more constitution. So whenever the constitution was framed, it was framed in a mentality and ideology that the future generation should not think what is right and what is wrong. The constitution was made very lengthy so that interfering the constitution is in an easier way. And our constitution is a quasi-federal nature. When we say quasi-federal nature, it is very different from rest of the emerging countries in the world. For example, in US and UK, the power absolutely lies with either state or union. When we say United States, many states or few states are combined to make an United States. So each state is responsible for their own well-being and their own precautionary measures or social measures that they're going to take. Whereas in India, we say it's a quasi-federal nation, because both union and the state have equal roles and responsibilities to play. So for example, folks, whenever your state's minister or chief minister says he does not have any hold on it and only central can influence it, it is absolutely not. The power rests equally, and the power rests along states and union. So our constitution is rightly designed that state has its own power and union has its own power. However, when state's power and union power conflicts, there is a concurrent power where it is decided by the court or by the Parliament of India. So the key, one of the major key features of the Indian constitution is it was being elected by or selected by the parliamentary. So both judiciary and parliamentary gets to review the constitution once in a while or when there is a need basis, and this is one of the major features of Indian constitution. So, and one more thing is independent judiciary free government influence is one of the key influence of Indian constitution, where the government cannot influence courts. Even if the government makes mistakes, it is liable under the law. This is one of the key feature of Indian constitution, where in some other countries or in some other states we do not have government under the judiciary. So when we lose our hopes under the state or the government, the courts are still available for us, and the constitution clearly says judicial wing is the supreme wing of all three wings in the nation, and we have an independent judiciary system today to ensure the law is being protected and everybody is equal in front of the law. One more key feature of Indian constitution is it is very secular in state, where the government, as I said before, does not represent any religion or should not represent any religion. It is termed to be Indian government or it is termed to be the state government. So we spoke a lot about our liabilities or the government has to do and what is written in constitution in the government and how government should adhere it. And here are something for the citizens. So as citizens of India, we have few rights binding on us. As I said, is a fundamental right. So fundamental right is the major right which is being exercised by citizens of India. So the constitution, when was framed, has framed 6 fundamental rights of the people, where anybody being state or being union. So if people or citizen of India can exercise this fundamental rights, it is the supreme right of the constitution and it is the supreme function of the constitution, where every other things comes only after the fundamental rights. For example, right to freedom is one of the fundamental right. Nobody, even the state and the judicial, can control individuals, and every individual or the citizens are or can exercise their right to freedom, and only after right to freedom everything comes to them. So we have 6 fundamental rights. One is right to equality, which says everybody is equal in front of the law, and when anybody, even the state or the judicial wing, does any wrong or mistake or exercises anything against the fundamental rights, they are punishable under law. Right to equality is being exercised by citizens of India, that everybody is equal in front of the law. And right to freedom, so when we say right to freedom, as I discussed before, everybody is freedom in their own ways and nobody can control. Even your partners, even your peers cannot control you, and everybody has the freedom to do whatever or to provide whatever professions they are in. You can strive on your own business and you are entitled not to be controlled by anyone, and you can exercise your freedom as India is an independent nation. And third right is right against exploitation. Pre-independence or even being the British period, there were a lot of slaveries and exploitations in India. It was believed that there are some castial rules or some educational rules where ex-citizen of India should be under ex-citizen of India, where people from a similar background should only be slaves and people from similar background should only be kings. So it people or citizens of India were being exploited by power, rule, and law and money. And one of the fundamental right to all our citizens of India is right against exploitation. No citizen of India should be exploited by any of power, money, and influence by another citizen of India. It is absolutely against the law. Right to freedom of religion. India has wide varieties of religions. We are a country with 100 plus religions. Anyone in the country can choose to follow any of the religions. On another fundamental rights is culture and educational rights. Every citizen of India has the right to education, and government is entitled to provide education. And when we say education, it's up to minimum education. Every citizen of India has the right to be a literate and not illiterate. So government's responsibility is to provide education and cultural rights to all the citizens of India. And last but not the least, every citizen of India is entitled to experience or enjoy constitutional remedies. When I say constitutional remedies, if any of the right is being abolished, you can have remedies through constitutional basis, and the constitution clearly provides each and every right and the measures when the right is being used against you. Okay, we are now move into directive principles of state policy. As I said, there are three major features of the Constitution. One is fundamental rights, other is fundamental duties, and another is directive principles of state policy. So this was coined by Indira Gandhi. When we say directive principles of state policy, there was a need that India as an union or the central cannot look on every states, and there was a requirement from each of the states that state can guide their own principles. For example, if you had seen a lot of political parties as their own ideologies, their own principles and own commitments to people of the state. So the state policy is, we call this as DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy. Similar to Constitution, it provides a set of guidelines and principles for each and every state to achieve. For example, we are currently in Dravida model. So the Dravida model aims to have equal pay for everybody and equal justice for everybody, and they bring a lot of sociology ideas. So each and every party ruling the state can bring their own ideas, and this directive principles of state policy will describe what ideology will be able to promote social and economic justice to the citizens of the state. It gives clear guidelines to the state to say X and Y frequencies should be adopted to follow X and Y frameworks to attain social and economic justice of the state. Anything, any priorities, ideologies, sociologies accepted by the party of the state should not discourage social and economic justice and should move only along the social and economic justice. So, this will act as a guiding principle for the state and the state policy to achieve just an equitable society. When I say just an equitable society, this is described and confined according to the emerging needs of the country. When I say equitable society, the society today can be different from what the society was yesterday and what the society can be 20 years or 50 years later. So when we say just and equitable, it is being measured by the rulers of the nation. So the current chief minister and the state leaders should coin different principles to say this is equitable society. We do not say best society or we do not say extremely good society. Where or why we say equitable society is because the needs of the society gets changed, and it is the state responsibility to ensure everybody has a respect in the society that they live. So this will even granularly say nobody should be tolerant to anybody, nobody should have bias to anybody, everybody should be equal in front of the society. And the key feature of this DPSP is it cannot be controlled by any court, or it cannot be controlled by any central regions. It is absolutely under the control of legislative and executive, where the state can describe their own DPSPs, the state can describe their own ideologies to be followed. The only key feature here is the state's ideology should not be conflicting with what the Parliament of India or the other state legislature. For example, my freedom should not be someone else's burden. When the state say we can be loud and enlightened, it cannot burden the neighboring states, or it cannot burden the rules or descriptions coined by Parliament of India. So some of the DPSPs are providing equal pay for all the citizens of the nation. So when I say I have to provide equal pay. It doesn't mean everybody in the cities, every citizen of India should have equal pay. It means for the work done or delivered by the citizens, they must have equal pay. For example, if I do some work and a similar work is done by other person, both should have an equal pay. So everybody should get an equal pay according to the work that they delivered. Just we spoke of fundamental rights and state policies. Fundamental rights is a right given to us, and state policies are a lot of regulations and policies prescribed by the state to ensure our social and economic justice grow. And this constitution have written fundamental duties along the way. So initially, when the constitution was framed by Dr. M. N. Roy and Dr. Ambedkar, their thoughts were, what do we give to the citizens of India? But fundamental duties was being proposed when Indira Gandhi was a prime minister, and she said, when the country gives something to citizens, the citizens must also entitled to give something to the country, and hence this fundamental duties came into play. So when fundamental duties were described, there was a committee held called mini constitution committee to say what the state and the union will expect from the citizens of India. It is not anything and everything that the citizens should contribute for the welfare of the state, but these are some moral responsibilities for the state. I mean, moral responsibilities for the citizens, that every citizens must be entitled to give to the nation. So these are being quoted to ensure the patriotic spirit is being there with every citizen of India. For example, citizens of India are militants of India tomorrow. So it is being put in a way that everybody has some duties to perform for the welfare of the state, and everybody as a whole by Indian citizens of the India is confined to these fundamental duties as we enjoy the rights. It was launched on 42nd Amendment on 1976, and under Article 51A, it says people are entitled to prevent nation when there is an economic disaster or when there is a social disaster. We, the people of India, should prevent India. Like the country prevents us during the normal regulations, we, the people, should prevent India or safeguard India when there is an economic or the social need. The similar example that I've quoted, our army forces, naval forces are entitled to prevent the country when there is an alarm being regulated or generated by the neighboring countries. So there are some examples of fundamental duties that we are adhere to, and I want to quote some famous examples that you can relate to. When there is a national flag being hoisted, every citizen of India should respect, and when a national anthem is being sang, every citizen of India should respect the national anthem. So these are some of the duties that Constitution recommends or mandates citizens of India to be following to. Aisha, you can move.
Then amendment of constitution. It was fundamental duties. Now it's amendment of constitution. Is it
Yes.
visible?
Yes, it is. Thank you. So, as I said before, the constitution is the lengthiest constitution of all, but the constitution framers have decided that according to the growth of the country or according to the needs of the country, this constitution needs amendments going by the way. When I say amendments, it is the changes that is being required for constitution. The constitution, though, is the lengthiest and it contains all the framework required for future generations too. The framers of the constitution built or believed that India may require a lot of amendments when the country is on a growth pace. For example, what is believed on 1947 may not be right on 2000, and what is believed on 2000 may not be right on 2025. So the framers of the constitution felt when the country is on a growth stage and when technology empowers citizens, the citizens' thinking and capability might change, and there might be a lot of new ideas. And the constitution framers in 1947 itself have thought themselves that not everything stated in the constitution is right, and gave us some room to improve this constitution. And whenever we improve a constitution, it's called an amendment of constitution. The framers have well thought through that constitution needs amendment at a regular pace, and it is being recommended to review the constitution and check if it aligns with the strategies and visions of the country. So the constitution review happens once in 3 years or once in 2 years or basis need. And every time the constitution review happens, it is being compared with the vision and strategies of the nation on a 10-year or a 5-year plan, and it is being compared with the constitution to see if the constitution principles is getting aligned to the regulation and views or the strategic plans of the country, else it is being changed or amended. So the framers have given a lot of flexibility. When I say flexibility, it is not very easy to change or amend the constitution. It requires a lot of process and approval by parliamentary and judiciary norms. However, it is not impossible to amend the constitution. So there have been lot of amendments that was made during initial stages. There have been 42 amendments made from 1950 to 1976, and there have only been 30 amendments made from 1976. So there have been a lot of famous amendments, and I have listed only few amendments. So the first amendments was made on 1951, which talks about freedom of speech and land reforms. So initially, when the constitution was framed, it was written nobody or the no citizens of India should talk against the government of India, but it was later removed and said that people are expected to right of speech and right of land reforms where we have press into play. Any citizen can question any leaders or rulers of the country, and freedom of speech is a basic fundamental right being established only after the First Amendment of the country. I mean, First Amendment of the Constitution. And we have the famous 42nd Amendment in 1976. It was done by brave Indira Gandhi when the state was under national emergency on 1975 to 1976. Everybody thought this should go through, and Indira Gandhi will not make any new suggestions, new amendments to the constitution. However, even the state was being under national emergency, she constituted the constitution assembly, and there were several changes that was being made, and it was one of the most debated constitution amendments till the history of the date, and it rose up many conflicts. It was most speaker constitution amendment in the history of constitution. There were a lot of chaos among the framers of the constitution after this constitution assembly has happened, and Indira Gandhi still made a bold decision to publish all these changes, and it was called as mini constitution by several countries around the world. So there were key amendments that was made by Indira Gandhi. Initially, the state and the central hold equal power, but Indira Gandhi said the central should have higher power than the state. So this was one of the major constitution amendment where state took a below hand or a lower hand when coming with central, and all our union laws were superior considered our state laws. So this was proposed only by Indira Gandhi, and it made mandate that president of India should act on behalf of council of his ministers. For example, initially the president power is only to sign and verify all the council of ministers, but after this 42nd amendment, the president was mandated to make a decision even in the absence of council of ministers. And though we say a lot of conflicting, I mean, this constitution amendment was still conflicting. Even today, there were a lot of debates on how the powers of the central and how the powers of the state should be exercised, because India is a secular country, right? Like, it is not confined to national rule, it is confined to state rule. Every state can exercise their own powers according to the constitution. But Indira Gandhi on 42nd Amendment said central has more power than state. Still today, this idea is being debated. And one more good thing that Indira Gandhi came up with this amendment is she said India is a socialist and secular country. So the preamble initially has only three words and does not have social and secular, whereas Indira Gandhi said the India is not going to be an economic focused country and it is only going to be a socialized focused country. So this is one of the most appreciated things by Dr. Indira Gandhi. You can move, Sia.
Yes, sir. Judicial
Yes.
review slide is.
Yeah. So we saw what constitution is all about, what preamble is all about, and anything and everything when we say law, it comes onto judiciary. So we or the framers of the constitution believed that judicial review is a supreme review and only judicial can know what is wrong and what is right in terms of law to the country, and they quoted a judicial review. So judicial review is the guardian of our constitution. It extremely talks about what is right and what is wrong. It prevents the constitution whenever there is a conflict between the framers of the constitution or amendment of the constitution. Judiciary comes into play. Judiciary is requested or recommended as the rescue team of the constitution. Whenever there is a conflict in constitution assembly or constituent assembly, the judiciary comes into picture and then they resolve all the conflicts. So it was famously called as the guardian of constitution. The judiciary has absolute power to strike down any constitutional laws that was written which is unconstitutional for the nation, and the judiciary has absolute powers to write or amend any constitution. It can also add a lot of constitution framers when it feels the country's vision should need or demand those constitutions. And judiciary review must be valid. It just cannot go amend anything. Any review made by judiciary committee or judiciaries must ensure that it is on the way of ensuring equality, justice, and liberty for the welfare of the nation. I will take a pause here for any questions. Before we
Yes,
start,
students.
I would like
If
to take a 2 minute water break, ma'am, if that's possible.
sure, sure, sir, sure, sir, sure, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Students, if you have any question, you can ask sir directly. Otherwise, you can use the chat box.
Hi, folks. So I'd love to
Yes,
take a lot of questions if there's any.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Sir, as you said for the directive state principle, so what are the things and rules if a state is not following that?
Okay, that's a good question. So, whenever you see a state is not following any rules, you can raise a public litigation under the state. So, you would see a lot of public litigations raised. When I have to extremely and precisely say what is public litigation, it is something that we say "Podunala vazhakku." So, we can file a case against the state, and there have been a lot of cases filed against the state. So one of the examples where uh, Rajiv Gandhi Shukla versus the state of Tamil Nadu, where Rajiv Gandhi Shukla filed that his marks in counseling deserved a seat and the government did not provide due to some technical misses. So this was back in 2003, where a candidate has secured a good mark in entrance exam. Due to technical fault, his seat was ignored and government did not provide him a seat on a good college that he was willing to. And he filed a PIL against the state, and the courts decided that this mark is eligible for the particular college, and they have increased the college seat by one, and they have got a compensation from the state. So even if the state does mistake, it is punishable under law.
So, sir, whether it will come under PIL, like public integrated, that a whole group will file a case, or it will come under personal.
It can be both. So the judiciary does not classifies when a citizen of India files a case, right? If it is of public interest, it comes under PAL. If it's of personal interest, it comes under personal case. But anything against the law by the state can also be penalized.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, sir.
Hi.
I'm Ruben.
Hi, Ruben.
Uh, I have two questions. How does the Indian Constitution legacy influence the foreign policies and the international relations, sir? And
Mm.
second one is, what are the challenges has been faced by India in balancing the individual rights and the national security concerns, sir?
Okay. I think two very good questions. First, I'll take influence of Indian Constitution over foreign relations. So, the Indian Constitution is being believed and written in a way where our social and economic justice is should be protected. So when there is a foreign policy coming in, it can do good or it may not do good. For example, and the launch of ever-growing industries, it brings in revenue to the country and it brings in job to the country, whereas the social justice is being derailed, right? It creates a lot of pollution, it damages our crops, it damages our water. So when there is things against constitution, the framers of the constitution have litigated a lot of remedies under it. So they balance pros and cons. The constitution assembly keeps on monitoring and review this when they feel, even if there is some negatives on bringing this foreign relations or foreign policies, if it benefits the people, then we can amend the constitution and relate it. There have been a lot of debates and challenges on bringing or adopting new policies because these constitutions were written in 1947, and it was written thinking the current resources or the capabilities of the nation, whereas with ever growing foreign investments and FIAs, the constitution faced a lot of challenges. But the constitution assembly have done a great job in evaluating the pros and cons of any policies and amending the constitution by then. So when there is a conflict between foreign relation expansion or investments with relates to constitution, the constitution assembly evaluates it, and when they coin or say it is good for the people and it will improve the economic and social justice of the country, they go ahead and do that investments or they attain that foreign treaties. Uh, if I'm clear with this, can I go to the second one or you have any follow-up questions?
You can continue with second one, sir. I have,
Okay, got it.
yes.
So the second one is challenges between managing fundamental duties and fundamental rights. Is it?
No, sir. The balance of individual rights and how the national security is
Correct,
concerned.
correct, correct. Exactly. That is what it is. So when you say individual rights, it is fundamental rights according to constitution. And when we say country's liability here, that probably comes under the country's exertion. So um, for example, you have an right to freedom. You can put on a loud music on your floor and near your house, and that can be burdening or delaying someone else's freedom. That's right against his freedom. So the country takes a calculation that anything that is being required by the citizen of India to meet their economic justice comes under freedom. So it has a lot of exceptions to say your freedom can only be your freedom if it does not derail others. So the constitution or the country accept this. So to allow anybody to enjoy their own rights, they must ensure it does not bring negative or it does not derail other citizens or countries' growth towards the social economic justice. So if it does, then it's against your freedom. So the constitution have clearly said what comes under individual freedom, and anything and everything an individual does cannot go against the benefit of the nation or citizens. For example, even if it's right and it's done by one individual, if it's reflecting against the country is considered as the supreme power, and the individual rights can be delayed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ruben.
Any other students want to ask any doubt? Sir, there is a question, sir. Can I ask? Hello,
Yes, ma'am.
sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, actually, when we talk about making Indian constitution, we spoke about the role of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and we spoke about something about the what is exactly the contribution of Jawaharlal Nehru in making the Indian constitution, sir. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yes. So Jawaharlal Nehru was the first Prime Minister of India, and he had brought preamble to Indian Constitution. So when Indian Constitution was framed, as I said initially, it was the lengthiest constitution of all. And Jawaharlal Nehru referenced it from United States of America to see that they have something called preamble, where it is a preface of the Constitution. So the Constitution Assembly has conducted a survey to see how much constitution is being adopted by citizens of India. For example, I do a research to understand how many people are adopting constitution today. The survey results weren't very promising, and it showed because of the lengthiest nature of the constitution, it cannot be consumed. Like a citizen of India can consume two principles if said to him, but the constitution had around 2 lakh principles. So it is being believed or assumed that the constitution, being it lengthy, cannot be shortened because it will erase out few directions, and there was a need to bring in something to ensure the constitution consumption is being very easy and it is being adopted widely. So Jawaharlal Nehru coined something called preamble. So this preamble acts as a preface to a book where you can read constitution in a preamble, and preamble gives all directions of the constitution, and it is assumed that once you read and understand the preamble, it is equal to completing the entire constitution. So Jawaharlal Nehru made the adoption of the constitution easier and easiest to be consumed by all when they feel reading the entire constitution is difficult.
Okay, fine. Thank you, sir. Sir, can I ask one more question, sir?
Yes, sure.
Sir, what is the role of judiciary in Indian constitution, sir?
That's a good question. So, when we see things are conflicting, for example, we have three wings: executive, legislative, and judiciary. So, for these three wings, there has to be someone superior to say that this is right or this is wrong. Sometimes our executive wing can get confusions. Sometimes our legislative wing can get confusions or can go wrong, in fact. So, for example, Dr. Jayalalitha was Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, and she had some issues and she was being arrested. So it gives absolute power to judiciary and say final judgment can only be at a judicial, and the constitution can be amended by any of legislative and parliament, but only judiciary can take the authority to sign off all these amendments, and judiciary has the extreme power to strike down any of the constitutional amendments made. And it is a guardian of constitution, right? It is not a parent of constitution, where any inputs on constitution, any amendments on constitution comes from the state and central legislations, but judiciary is a guardian of constitution, where it has the primary responsibility to save the constitution. When it feels the state and the central are not in alignment with the growth of the country, there comes a judicial review to say that this is being right or wrong, and nobody can go over the judicial review. So judicial review is the supreme power.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Students, anyone have any doubt? Other students? No? Okay, Sirisha, you continue.
First of all, thank you, sir. Now I invite Mr. Zaid of First BC for vote of thanks.
As we conclude this enlightening national level workshop on India's constitutional legacy, empowering democracy and sustainable development, it is my honor to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to our esteemed resource persons, Mr. Praveen Kumar and Mr. C. Prabhakaran. Your expertise and insights have significantly deepened our understanding of the Indian Constitution and its pivotal role in shaping democratic governance and promoting sustainable development. Your dedication to this field and your willingness to share your knowledge have been invaluable to everyone in attendance today. We are truly appreciative of the time, effort, and commitment you invested in preparing and delivering such an informative and engaging session. Your contributions have undoubtedly equipped us with the knowledge and inspiration necessary to navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead in our exploration of Indian Constitution. Thank you once again, sir, for your invaluable contribution. I would also like thank all participants for active engagement, thoughtful questions, and valuable contribution throughout the workshop. Your enthusiasm had made this event a great success. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Said.
Thank you.
Dear participants, a feedback link has been shared in the chat box and will remain active for next 15 minutes. We kindly encourage you to take a moment to complete the form as your input is invaluable to our ongoing improvement. Upon submitting your feedback, an e-certificate acknowledging your participation will be emailed you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable information. Ma'am, Adilakshmi ma'am.
Hi, yes, Aisha ma'am. Thank you, Praveen Kumar sir.
Thank you,
Such
ma'am. Thank you.
really it was very useful to hope the students might have enjoyed about it, and they might have understood the value of it. That is what I'm sorry, I'm because I couldn't able to switch on my video. My internet is unstable.
Understood.
Please don't mind. And it was really good because how much ever we teach in the the regular syllabus, if someone from outside and practically how it is actually being used and which are the focus points you have to think about while reading a subject, so that is really inevitable for the students point of view, and it helps for the examination point of view and for their regular life skills too. So thank you so much for your session, and thank you
Thank you.
Prabhakaran sir, because when we had this topic, and when we approach Aisha ma'am was very clear about the resource person's point of view, because that's the confidence we got it from Prabhakaran sir, and he helped a lot to bring Praveen Kumar sir here. So really, we are thankful again, and thanks for accepting our invitation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for
Thank
providing
you,
this
madam.
opportunity. It was really
Thank you.
grateful to
Thank.
talk to students.
I
Thank you
think
so much, ma'am.
one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think one of them have raised a hand. Maybe it is for the question or saying hi. Shrikant, yes. Shrikant, yes. Do you like to ask anything? Okay, hopefully no. Okay, so thanks a lot, sir. We'll meet you
Thank you,
again.
ma'am. Thank you. See you soon, all. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, and thank you, Praveen.
Thank you, sir.
Aisha ma'am, please post the feedback form in YouTube live as well.